Good evening. Welcome to you. Welcome. Lovely as always to be with you. Yeah, just a couple of announcements. We have our Kripalu retreat. I'll be starting, I believe, next Sunday evening. So next week at this time, which will be the 16th of July, there'll be no satsang on the internet, but there's going to be satsang in person at Kripalu. If you want to come and meditate with us for the week, we'd love to have you come. Now, for those of you who are coming, I'm going to just put out there a little bit of a caution. Sometimes when we're ready to make a big step forward, to go on a big retreat, life will throw us some curveballs. And even this evening, I got an email, someone saying, "Oh, I'm not sure if I can make it. I have a bunch of things that came up." And sometimes there are family emergencies, but I encourage you just to look and to be careful and to stay true to your path. Stay true to your path. And so I hope to see you there, and don't let anything get in your way. Okay. Beyond that, it looks like tentatively the next online retreat will be the weekend of August 25th. And so you mark your calendars for that. You can use a pencil because I'm still working out the details, but it looks like August 25th, 26th, and 27th should be the next online retreat if everything goes according to plan. All right. I think those are my big announcements. So again, no satsang on July 16th. And all that week, I'll be missing groups. So I won't have the kundalini group, which will probably be on like the 19th, and no meditation on the 19th. Unless you're at the retreat, we'll be doing lots of that. Okay. All right, well, let's do this. Why don't we close our eyes, and I invite us all just to feel into our hearts in this moment. So that's going to require we take some deep, full breaths. Letting go of the day, the weekend, the busyness of life. And I invite you to meet me in the space of the heart. Just noticing what you feel here in this moment. Is it full of love and bliss? Is your heart guarded and defended, or somewhere in between? Either way, we're softening and giving ourselves permission to surrender any human struggle. Surrendering any attachments, any holding, guarding, defending. And just noticing what you feel in the heart. So on the surface of the heart, again, it's common to have a little bit or a lot of tension. We're going to just try this practice of breathing into the tension, going inside of the tension. This tends to take some courage, a willingness, and open-heartedness. And so we're breathing and feeling coming more fully inside the space of the heart. It can be helpful if your breaths are deeper and fuller. As we breathe deeply and fully into the lower belly, any tension and anxiety or guarding in the heart will tend to begin to relax, to open and melt. Again, I want you to imagine going inside the tension, feeling it from the inside out. Breathing and feeling and noticing. And as we come into contact with tension, things immediately begin to melt. Begin to melt. And softening the front of the heart chakra. And softening on the right side of the heart. Right side of the chest, the ribs. Again, just noticing if you're holding. So breathing into the front, breathing into the right side. Really opening this center. Breathing on the back side of the heart, behind the heart. Again, gently noticing, am I holding? And I surrender. Breathing in the front, right side, behind. So next we'll be including the left side of the heart. You may notice that you hold a lot of tension on the right, not so much on the left. More energy on the left side. I don't want you thinking too much, but rather we're just breathing and feeling and softening. Letting it all melt. Even listening. To the heart. So as we open the front, the right, behind, the left side, as you feel right into the center, seeing if your heart wants to speak to you or offer you some guidance. There's someone or something you need to forgive. There's something you need to let go of. There's something that needs to come forward. Yeah, we breathe, we feel, we open. Listening to the depth of the heart. What does your heart want to tell you, show you, reveal to you? I invite you to feel the upper heart area, like above the heart, between the heart and the throat chakra. Can we soften here, just breathing here for a few breaths? And again, noticing, am I holding any tension? Am I guarding, defending? Then with your next exhale, I'm going to invite you to come underneath the heart. The feeling is that lower heart center as the heart blends into the solar plexus, the third chakra center. Again, can we melt? Each and every exhale, melting, surrendering. And sometimes there can even be a little bit of sadness there. If so, we're letting that flow, letting that empty out. Opening the third chakra center, solar plexus. Inviting the love of the heart to flow into the third chakra center. Healing, purifying, connecting to a quiet sense of power. Descending a little further down to the hara. I invite you as you come to the hara chakra center, the second chakra, the sacrum. If you can expand out on the horizontal plane in a foundational way. And feel as if you're opening into the earth. Becoming like a mountain and descending down into the earth, to the first chakra center. So many of you may feel this profound nobility and strength, rootedness. So we're inviting the energy of the earth, the consciousness of the earth to begin to flow upwards. Up through our legs, our feet, our pelvis, filling us with a quiet sense of strength, power, sense of depth. And I ask you, can you surrender more fully here? Opening and awakening. This depth of being. It's like a cool fire of the earth. Waking up within you. And flowing up the spine, flowing into mixing and merging with the love, open-heartedness of the heart. Flowing up through the throat chakra, opening and expanding the third eye, the space of the mind. Then flowing up through the crown and pouring into heaven. It's like this fountain of light, of grace. And simultaneously rooted like a mountain. And so we'll breathe here, open here, and realize that what you are is much greater than just a human thinking mind, much greater than simply an egoic nature. Yes, so beautiful. So I welcome you to Satsang. So good to be here with you all. So good to be here with you all. All right. So I'd like to tell everyone a little bit of a story, just of someone I met, someone I know quite closely, quite intimately. He's a friend of mine, he's a father, and a number of years ago, someone greatly harmed one of his children, and they did so in a way that it's a little too horrific to share, but and over the last number of years, I've kind of been working with him, and he came to this recognition that he lost faith in life, he lost faith in humanity, he lost faith in God, he lost faith in the fact that this is an evolutionary world. And he was justifiably angry. He was just incredibly angry. he was hurting, he was struggling, and again, I've been working with him for many years, and it's been really hard to work with him. It's very difficult to work with individuals when they lose faith, when they lose hope. And all along, I kind of been, just gently cheering him on and inviting him to continue to have faith even when he does not. And, he found himself just really struggling with just these mind storms of what had happened and how unfair it was, and how he couldn't do anything, and how unjust it was, how angry he was at the man who had done this to his children. And the one thing he did is he just kept showing up and meeting with me. And sometimes there wasn't anything I could say, because when something horrific happens to you or happens to your family, there's really nothing we can say to make it right. Like if we step way back from an evolutionary view, we can see, okay, maybe this is part of the path, maybe this is part of his children's path. But again, even just saying that sounds so harsh. Like this was meant to happen. like we normally don't want to hear that. And sometimes when the pain is so great, we don't want to hear anything. We just need to unload. And I've been listening to him unload, and sometimes like when someone has been through such a great pain, even listening to them unload, like if you do it again and again and again, it can feel a little bit toxic. And he even said this to me. He's like, God, this is because it's so horrific. The pain that he went through, that his kids went through, we couldn't make it nice in any way. And sometimes there are things in life that, well, one, are utterly unfair, but then secondly, that are utterly unexplainable. Like, even again, if we step back into that evolutionary context and see, yes, everything does happen for a reason. Like from your human individual self, we can look at that and be like, I cannot get on board with this. It's just too much. Like often we speak about the ineffable nature of God. But many of us who've lived long enough, we come in contact with the ineffable nature of suffering, like a suffering that is so great, I can't do anything with it. It's like, it seems as if it's unworkable. Unworkable. And yet, this man, this fella, he just kept showing up and just kept showing up and he kept showing up. And this went on for years and years. And recently, he came to me and he said, Greg, I had a day when I did not think about what happened. I had a day when I was able just to live my life with an open heart. I had a day where, because I'm reminding him, to open to the hugeness of the sky, the hugeness of the earth, the beauty of life, the beauty of his children. And he came to me. He came to me recently again after many, many years of just being in utter hell, like anguish kind of hell. And he said to me, I'm ready to forgive. I'm ready to forgive. And boy, did that break my heart. I was like, oh, yes. So utterly touched at his courage and his willingness. And again, like sometimes we just keep showing up. We keep showing up with something that is, quote unquote, unworkable, unresolvable, unfixable, unchangeable, ineffable pain. And with time, with space, with a willingness to sit, to be with, to experience something, that thing, that anguish, that depression, that anxiety, that immense fear, whatever it is that we struggle with, it begins to break. And at first, it just starts to crumble on the edges. And for many of us, we don't even realize it's crumbling. But like he said, he's like, I had a day where I didn't think about it. And then another day. And then out of nowhere, a little more time, a little more space, continuing to sit with it, the thing begins to break. The thing that we struggled with, it begins to break. It begins to break. And as it breaks, we open into freedom. We open again to love. We open through the grace of forgiveness, the grace of surrender. And for most of us, we wish that surrender would come the first time we struggled with the thing. But sometimes it's the 1,000th time, the 1,000 and the 10,000th time we've opened. That thing breaks, it empties, it releases. And then there is the sweet nectar of freedom. The freedom. And that's the beautiful thing with time. That given enough time and given enough space, whatever it is that's in our life that we struggle with. I mean, maybe it's just that we want to be awake. We want to be awake, like the Buddha taught. I want to be awake. And so we sit, and we open, and we forgive, and we let go. And then we trip, and we fail again. We pick the thing up, and we fight with it, and we struggle against it. And then we remember, oh yeah, oh yeah, it feels much better to forgive than to carry this damn thing any longer. It is much better to forgive. Because with forgiveness, basically what we are saying to the universe is, I don't want to carry this thing any longer. And unfortunately, in our culture, forgiveness has often been equated with thinking that it's okay what happened, or letting the person get away with it and that type of thing. But true forgiveness is just something very basic. It's, I don't want to carry this thing in my consciousness anymore. It's causing me more pain to hold on to this, to carry this, to fight against it. It's causing me more pain than what it's worth to hate this person, to hate life, to hate God. It's just too much. The way the Buddha taught this is, like anger is like holding on to a hot coal. It's like, oh, you're being burned. You're being burned. You're being burned. But when I was a kid, I've told this story a couple times, but when I was a kid, I was with my father and my brothers, and we used to go see the like Formula One races. My father was a big race fan. And before the race would start, there'd be times when like we'd go jump the fence and go walk down on the track. And on the track, like often, there would be fresh tar on the track, and it would be still kind of melted and gooey, and we'd go stick our shoes in it and squish it because we were little boys. And then, so I had all this tar on my shoes. And then later that night, we were sitting by the campfire. We'd camp out on the track. It was really fun. And we were sitting by the campfire, and I had my feet toward the fire. My bottom of my shoes were getting really hot. And I did what any little boy did, is I went and I touched the bottom of my shoes to see how hot the bottoms of the shoes were, because I could feel it through the soles into my feet. And the tar melted and stuck to my hands. And it was like, yes, and I couldn't get it off, because tar, when it's, it's gooey and it's melted. So it was like this bubbling tar stuck to my hands. And like anger is like this. Like sometimes we get so angry. It's like stuck in us, stuck in our consciousness. And we can't just look at it and say, oh, this is not good. This is not wholesome. Like the Buddha taught. I'm immediately going to let this go. Like for some of us, we have to breathe while our hand is holding on to that hot coal. And say, please, like, please open, please surrender. So often we have to talk to our body. We have to talk to our emotional nature. We have to convince it through love. It'd be nice if we could convince our emotional nature through logic, but emotional nature normally does not listen to logic, but it does listen to love. It listens to love. And so this fella that I've been working with for all these years, his gift was that he, like I often say this is one of my gifts as well, that he was willing to continue to show up and to sit, to open, and then eventually forgiveness came by way of grace. Came by way of grace. Letting go, surrender came by way of grace. And the reason I say this is because a number of people have come to me in the last weeks and months who've been greatly struggling, who've been facing some of these irresolvables, unfixables, these unexplainable, an unexplainable amount of suffering. And for many of us, like when we're stuck in the dark night, we're suffering in the dark night, we forget that the dark night is simply a night. It has an end. Now, that night may go on for 4 years, but eventually dawn does come. Eventually a new life comes. And if we want to speed this up, we speed this up through the power of our choice. Choosing the light instead of the darkness. Choosing to have faith when we have no faith. Choosing to meditate when we'd rather jump off a bridge. choosing to love when hate would be the logical response, choosing to be peaceful when going to war seems like the right idea. And so it takes great courage to choose love over hatred. It takes great courage. I had this very funny thing. And again, I'm going to say something political, but I don't want anyone getting upset here. My wife, she came to me today and she said, gosh, a lot of our friends are voting for Trump. A lot of our friends are voting for Trump. And, a number of years ago, I wouldn't have been able to believe that because, when Trump first was elected and through the years, I thought, my God, this fellow is such a lunatic. And again, please, I don't want to offend anyone if he's your man, but I can remember a time where I couldn't even fathom being in the room with someone. And now, just through time, through peace, through patience, through a willingness to listen. I'm not saying be convinced, but a willingness to listen to the quote unquote, the other side, even though I'm not on any side. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm neither. But the willingness to listen to someone who once upon a time I thought was my enemy. And then I see now, not a big deal. Like this doesn't have to be a wall. It doesn't have to be a wall. And then I can say, the same thing about bleeding heart liberals. I've been around that for so long that just seemed normal, to be around bleeding heart liberals and corporations are bad, all that. Walmart is the devil, and there's of course truths on all sides. But it was funny. It was just the shocking realization of once upon a time I held a view, a wall, that these people were bad and wrong. And these people were absolutely right and going to save us. And now I have little faith in any of the parties, little faith in either party. So I don't want to even get excited, one way or another. Little faith in either. But also great understanding of both. Great understanding of both. Great understanding of the human predicament. The predicament of politics, at least in the United States, but I assume in the rest of the world that this kind of cultural narrative is going on as well. But the beautiful thing that happens with time is the great softener. The great softener. Time takes walls and it takes mountains. It turns them to dust, turns them to sand. One of the beautiful things as I was driving across Nevada, and western Utah, as I would see these mountains in the distance that had looked like they had been just worked over by time. And I drove through the valleys. And in the valleys, I saw sand. Just I don't want to say fields of sand because fields isn't a big enough word. I saw where the ocean once was. That the ocean was once here in Nevada and in Utah and in Colorado and everywhere in the world. The ocean probably flowed once upon a time. And when we start to see and experience ourselves, our nature, our minds, from a perspective of geologic time, when you start to experience life from geologic time, and the spiritual word would be eternal time. Like the ideas, the opinions in our heads, the I know the right way, all that begins to soften, soften, soften. And there's this willingness, this knowingness, where instead of knowing a lot, what you know is spaciousness. Like in the place of knowing, in the place of thinking, in the place of politicizing, is spaciousness, is vastness, is peace, and is very quiet, soft, yet radically immense, earthly love. Earthly love. Yeah, one of my favorite things, I say this often, is to drive across the desert. To drive from Colorado to the Pacific Ocean. You start to see how big the world is, how big life is. See, it goes on and on and on forever, endlessly, eternally, ineffably. And when we're suffering greatly, often we forget this. When we're suffering greatly, we're like the guy who's just like holding the boulder up and the boulder's crushing us. And all of our focus is on this one thing that's crushing us, that's screwed up our day, our week, our month, our year. This one thing that has harmed, like this fella I was working with, his family. The egoic view is narrow. The awakened view is boundless, boundless, timeless. It's beyond, beyond, beyond. And so often in the beginning of these meetings, I have us go inward and do a little bit of a meditation and kind of open in the different chakra centers. And the beautiful thing about the different chakra centers is they give you a different mind to view reality from. Different mind beyond the conditioned egoic mind, the mind that's always busy, personality mind. When we step into the heart, it's a different mind than being in your personality. You step into the solar plexus, of course, it comes with this quality of a timeless strength and a power. When we open into the heart, we start to feel as if we are the earth. When you experience yourself as the earth, it's a lot different than experiencing oneself just as a little human being who, my girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, whatever, dumped me. And I'm in so much pain because they were my life. They were the totality of my life. And so when we're in our personality, we could just be in this one little story. But when we come into our heart, we open into the vastness of the mind. We open into the depth of the earth. It's very hard to identify. Identify just with some small aspect of our egoic nature. My boss was mean to me today, and that's not fair. But we're in the hugeness of our divine nature when we truly awaken. Very hard to really trip over. Oh, someone scratched my car in the parking lot. Someone scratched my car in the parking lot. So anyways, it's this choice, the choosing the higher consciousness. And please know this higher consciousness, it is not outside of you. It is your nature. It's choosing our divine nature instead of choosing our animal nature, our psychological nature. But we are choosing to listen to the quiet voice of the heart, the gentle intelligence of our being, instead of choosing to habitually follow the ego wherever it takes us. Because as an ego here on planet Earth, egos are most of the time agitated. It's like we're grumpy, we're sleepy, we're hangry. Right now, in the middle of summer, we're way too hot. You know, for those of you in Australia, I don't think it gets way too cold in Australia, but those of us in a different part of the world, it may be way too cold. It's way too hot, way too cold. The sun's too bright. There's too many clouds. This food is too salty. Whatever it is, the ego has something to complain about. But true nature, because you step into the hugeness of life and we just are. When you just are, when you are being the hugeness of life, like who can complain that? Who can complain that? Even if we're too hot, you know, we just walk in the direction of shade, without the complaint, without the complaint. And so anyways, the invitation here this day is to choose the greater, to surrender the lesser, to surrender the lesser. Okay. Well, if anyone has a question, you can raise your hand. Sorry, I did something funny on my Facebook live stream. I think it's still working, but let's just see. Okay, so I see a bunch of hands up. Okay, we will hear from. Let's hear from Don. Don, are you here?
Hey, Craig. Wow. That's so beautiful. The guy who had one day to not think about his kids and being ready to forgive. I want to thank you for that.
Yes.
Something came up to share about being with pain, but I want to thank you for mentioning Trump. Seriously. I spent most of my life in New York City where Trump's a five-letter word. And when I came down south, what came to mind when you told that story was there's a guy at an office across the hall from me, a psychologist, and I was a psychologist. He was a retired businessman. He had a company, it was Bible, Constitution, and family was his logo. We disagreed on everything politically. Abortion, guns, climate change, you name it. You know, corporations are great. And he showed me a book he'd written about his childhood in the early 1940s. And he's in his late 70s. And I could feel, and I've met so many people down south who were Trump supporters who were like this. It felt like he was terrified. Everything in the world that had happened was violating his whole sense of identity.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't a logical thing like, oh, well, Trump's like, he's got the right policies. It was Bush, you know, or Trump was going to restore things to standing where we know what genders are, and we know, and the climate's normal. We don't have all these brown and black and green and Asian people, you know, invading our, you know, and it's not like, I don't know, you know, a lot of my friends want to call that racist, but it's like, it's what made sense to him. Anyway, I don't want to go on too long. What came up was, I've been hearing a lot. Jan and I listened to your old satsangs. We heard your Buddha at the gas pump interview, and it really struck me. I've been getting this more and more. You talk about how people want to run away from pain rather than embrace it. So without going into the story, I woke up this morning, and it was this immense pain. And if I leave the story, it was about friendship and, you know, not having male friends, whatever that I want. But leave the story, I felt this kind of like dizzy stuff in my head, this kind of solid lump in my gut, and this really intense, really just painful, agonizing feeling on my heart. I kept saying, okay, you know, and I teach this for years, and just working with you, I'm really seeing, wow, I've never seen before how much I go into that transcendence to escape. I think I'm not going into it, but okay.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out with it all day. And I didn't tell Jan yet, but I was driving downtown to do some writing in a cafe. And suddenly I'm driving, and it all becomes clear. This dance of energy kind of running around my head is my attention. My mind is running around believing all these stories. And I suddenly felt this block in my stomach was giving away my power to get approval from other people.
Yes.
And I can feel this ache in my heart. Suddenly it's like, I'm looking for love from anywhere but the divine. And Jan pointed out to me this morning, she said, you know, Don, you perform a lot. And it really hit me like, yes, I perform. People here see me, you know, being a joker and playful. I perform because if I don't perform and entertain you, you're not going to love me. And so I'm still giving away my power to everyone to get that love. And I could feel the energy just like,
Yes.
and I have no doubt, I can feel my mind saying, oh no, why isn't it over? I have no doubt this has come up. I could feel my father's karma of feeling unlovable and invisible as a child. He told me that once. He opened when I was 20. And I broke down crying, and he told me, well, I never thought anyone would want to hear my story. And I could feel how much that's in me. So basically, it's you know, so far less than someone who's had a horrible thing happen to their child. But I could feel as you're talking, the power of the clarity and power of what you're teaching to really not just allow, not just open to, but actually, I mean, it sounds so incomprehensible to the mind, to love pain.
Yeah.
To love the pain, and not in order to fix it, but to trust. Like I'm really, you know, kind of letting go of my plan of what to say, and just like it's just coming out. So thank you. I love this satsang. I love you guys. I can't wait to see at least some of you in person next week. Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Don. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this is the truth. We love for the sake of love. Because love only wants to love. Love only wants to love. Like that's the nature of love. Love wants to love. And so we're not loving to fix, to get over this thing, because that's what we read in a book or whatever. The nature of love is to love what's here. And the beautiful thing about healing is, well, we can live our life in a very inefficient way, like asking everyone to love us. And so we're going to perform for them so they love us. We live in a culture where that is greatly supported, like our gods are movie stars. They perform and we love them. And then meanwhile, they're drug addicts. It's like because they don't love themselves. They don't love themselves. But when we love ourselves, that's when there's true healing. That's when there's true healing. When we love ourselves, we become like a Buddha. We become like the Christ. Yes, and I can remember a long time ago, my teacher was telling me this. And I was really brokenhearted because my girlfriend broke up with me, dumped me and left me, and many, many decades ago. And actually this week, someone ran into her. I haven't seen her in 20 years or so. Ran into her, actually at a Grateful Dead concert. And they said, "Hey, I'm hanging out with so-and-so." And they sent me a picture of her. And I looked at her and I was like, this was the person that I gave my power away to. And it seemed like almost bizarre. It's like so utterly bizarre that this person, quote unquote, broke my heart. And I looked at them, I was like, gosh, I don't even know this person. I don't even care really about, if they liked me anymore. I don't need them to like me in any way. I had no desire to reach out to them. I had no pull. It was just like, it was almost depressing seeing their face in a certain way. Not depressing for me, but just like the vibration of that individual there's nothing I needed. I didn't need approval from them. I didn't need them to be in my life. Don't need to have any contact with them. And again, like they wish them well and all that. But so a funny thing, when you truly love yourself, when you love you, you become quite free. Quite free. Quite free. But when you need, the world around you, well, it's a very difficult life. Very difficult life. Really fun way. I'll just say this. Last night on Netflix, my wife, she's like, she had me click on something. We clicked on the trailer for Wham, George Michael. If any of you remember that story, but someone made like a documentary about him, and it was hilarious, just absolutely hilarious. And like somewhere in the trailer, it said something like, who would think that these two idiots, George Michael and Andrew, whoever, would whatever take over the world, the world of pop music or whatever it was. And, you see these two that, they're like just like two young clowns, and like their whole thing is, I'm performing and I need to perform because I need to be a superstar. It's like, why? Like, why do you need to be a superstar? Like, what is it? What if we knew we were a superstar? What if we knew that, whether people showed up and saw us or not? And then we could perform from a place of truth instead of performing from a place of, I need the fans to go crazy and lose their mind so that I can have a sense of worth, or whatever it is. What if I loved me? What if I loved this? And please, when I say love, love includes all of our being. The good, the bad, the ugly, the distorted, the disturbed. Love loves all. All. And in that is the most perfect freedom. But when love needs, well, then that's the opposite of freedom. So anyways, beautiful. Thanks, Don, for sharing. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to call on Angel because I don't think I've ever heard from Angel before. Angel, are you here?
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, Angel. Have we spoken before?
No, we haven't. I'm just
Yeah,
going to
well-
pin you for a second.
Yeah, well, welcome. Where are you from?
I'm from Perth, Australia.
From Perth, Australia. All right. Well, welcome. So, Angel, do you have a question? Can you see me?
Hold on. I'm not very tech savvy. Bear with me a moment.
Okay. Well, we can certainly hear you.
Wonderful. Yeah, there we go. Funnily enough, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. You just let it come. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's so much beauty and grace here. Thank you.
Yes.
It's been quite a time since I've been with teachers, and there's lots of fear. Yeah.
Fear of.
I was with a teacher who was very untrauma informed, and I see it as a developmental stage because
Yeah.
he's like the power, the money,
Yeah.
and really destroyed my love of truth,
Yeah.
my trust.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that can be really hard. It can be tremendously hard when we are opening and we find someone who's a bright light, and they may be a bright light in a very transcendent type of way, but they're not good with the human parts of themselves or yourself or any self. And so they can cause a lot of pain because we see them, we see their bright light, and so we surrender at their feet, we put their faith and our trust in them, and then they drop the ball because they don't know how to meet with our human self. They don't know how to live from a place of compassion or a sense of inclusivity. They only know how to live in this one ray of divinity, and they may be very proficient at it, very proficient at this one realm of divinity. Like anything, if we focus on greatly, we can become quite proficient in this one area. But sometimes all the other parts of us are just a total mess, undeveloped. And I started off that way. I meditated. That's all I focused on, and tried to be a good little monk. And I hated my human self. I hated my humanity. And I'm going to say something harsh. I hated all women, and I hated women because they were so beautiful, and I was young, and I was attracted to them, and I hated the fact that that I had desire, and it didn't make any sense to me. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with the women. There was something wrong with the way I was thinking. I was thinking that in order to be free, you have to be celibate, and if you ever have a desire, you're completely bad and wrong. And anyways, I realized, quite young in the path, I can't keep this up. This is too hard. Fighting with half of creation does not work. And so I realized there's got to be another way where we love and we include all of life. We include all of life. And in that inclusivity, I found there were all kinds of parts of me that I didn't want to include. But I realized if I wanted to be free, I had to love everyone and everything. Everyone and everything. And that's hard. And so a lot of teachers, and the old path was, let's just forget about the human, let's transcend.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if we have a big shadow while we're doing that, we can cause a great deal of pain. A great deal of pain. And I just saw it. I caught it within my own self. So I saw, I'm causing a lot of pain to myself. I'm causing a lot of pain to myself. And it also just doesn't work. It does not work. It fundamentally does not work. To have this type of division within me. Yeah. Yeah. Well, beautiful. Well, is there something you want to share around that, or did you have a question, or?
Yeah, I do. So when you acknowledged there was a part that was sort of abandoning the humanity, it's like God up here, God down here. Like,
Yeah.
was there? So it's very easy, especially I don't have a lot of energetical boundaries. And so when I like either my own pain or others' pain, I tend to it's happening not so much now, like I'm spending a lot of time just like focusing on my hara and what my inner child needs. But I have a tendency to dissociate into the transcendental.
Yeah.
And it feels like abandoning myself,
Yeah,
abandoning.
it is. It is. It literally is. So I saw that same thing within myself. That the thing that I saw was there was pain in my body. I could transcend the pain, which felt wonderful. But then when I went out to live my life, like outside of the meditation cushion, I caused great pain for myself. And I caused, a lot of confusion just for the people who were close to me, because they said, Craig, he seems like a really nice guy and he's good at meditation, but he doesn't do very good here on planet Earth. And he doesn't know how to communicate. He doesn't know how to relate to other human beings. He doesn't know, he's not kind to himself. He's, and like I saw this, me and my wife, we went on a bike ride yesterday, and we ran into a new mother, and she had 2 children. And she, I said hello. She was an old friend, and she said hello, and I said, looks like you have your hands full, because she had these 2 little babies, and then she just proceeded to complain and tell, like, basically how much she hated being a mother, hated being like. And it was heartbreaking to me, because I was like, there's these kids, right? Yeah, these kids. It's like, we need to love the children. To sound like like the king hippie here. Like, we need to love the children, but we got to love the inner child. If you don't love the inner child, you have a big shadow. And, we have to learn to be with other human beings here on planet Earth. We have to learn to love each other, or we're going to live in this division. And division, again, like experientially, I just saw this within myself. Experientially, division feels like hell, and love, like the willingness to love and to include and to be unguarded and undefended, to have no walls, of course, feels like heaven. Feels like heaven. Now, I will say there's a little nuance here, that in order to open in this way, like in a huge way, in the heart, and to be able to love all, you also have to be empowered. So we have to have done our work first. If we don't have love with power, we tend to be lacking in boundaries, and then people take advantage of us, and it creates this whole kind of cycle of disaster. And so we want to have love, but with strength as well. A sense of strength, and a sense of knowing who and what you are, knowing that you are worthy, that you are worthy of love just as much as the next person. And that the more you take care of your needs and you develop your strength and your power and your unconditional love, then we don't have power issues. Then we aren't taking advantage of people, and we aren't being taken advantage of. We aren't being taken advantage of. And so again, I'm sorry that that this happened with your former teacher, and it can be hard to trust going forward. but generally speaking, like the general teaching is when this happens, you find something good, like somewhere where you do trust. You do a little, make sure, there's a little education here. You have this sense of, okay, I'm not repeating the past. So the new teacher is going to have more training than the former one in the realm of psychology and humanity and love. And they're going to have a big heart with lots of compassion. And then you see, okay, and then you kind of go forward slowly. And having a little skepticism is good because, sometimes, sometimes people talk the talk, but they don't actually walk it. And in this day and age, like anyone can talk about anything on the internet. So you want to make sure, well, how do they respond? How do they respond to you? How do they respond to others? And then, after a given time, if they pass whatever test you have, you say, okay, I can open more, I can surrender more, I can trust more here. I can trust more here. Yeah. Yeah. And so being human is a messy business. Messy. Yeah, it's a messy business. It's a messy business. So anyways, well, good to have you, Angel. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Yeah. Well, much love to you and welcome, my dear. Welcome. Yeah. All right. Good to hear from you. And let's see.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's hear from Luke. Luke, are you here?
Yeah, thank you. So I really resonate with the last two questions. Experientially lately, not to sound Ester Hicksy, but like I'm really experiencing that kind of everything I'm struggling with, like even going through this breakup. It's like it wants to reach. There's parts of me that want to reach and grasp and blame or get comforted, and I'm like, my system's like, I just know like everything is inside. Like I don't know how to
That's right.
say that without sounding. And so lately I just have been experiencing like there's a background piece sometimes, and I know it's always there, but it's like using an IFS model. Like I really have been struggling just with just parts that just won't budge, just won't.
Yeah. So places within us that won't budge, what do they need?
So what I've been really working on lately is I just have this dynamic of almost like my dad did this. I know this. I don't know if this is where the root is, but almost like wounding, and it's happening like I'm doing it internally now because there's like no external, and like almost like wounding to like heal. Like there's just a part that's, I don't know, just suffering and just. I don't know.
And so I asked, what does that place need?
I mean, I guess this is where I wanted to ask you, is that like the love part you're talking about from Dawn and Angel that just talked? Like, I honestly don't, like, I get these parts and it might want, this one felt pretty pre-verbal, like it wanted the mother.
So what is the mother, like experientially?
I mean, I can tell you that I can experience that because it feels good. The transcendence feels good, but it's like not, the part isn't reacting to that necessarily.
Yes,
Almost.
so transcendence isn't going to do it. So a baby, like a pre-verbal, that's going to be a baby. A baby wants a warm presence. And the ego will project that outside of ourself. And that is, in your case, the girlfriend, in this case, the ex-girlfriend, you know? And so, and again, if we reach out to the ex-girlfriend, that becomes inefficient. And so can we find a place of warm, nurturing, compassionate love and connect it to the place within us that isn't budging, budging, that's the word I'm looking for, isn't budging, isn't moving. And so when something feels stuck for a long period of time, it needs, in this case, this love that I just described for a long period of time. It needs it consistently for a long period of time. And so the thing that I was speaking about with Don, when I said I learned to love myself, is I had to love myself forever. forever. And so it started with, I'm just going to love myself this day, this week, this moment, this month. And then months turned into years. And at some point, like there was like this healing where I kind of got over a feeling of deficit of love, a feeling of being unworthy. And at some point there was something that broke where I no longer felt like there was parts of me that were unlovable, because I literally loved those parts to death. So this warm, loving aspect of my being showed up and was stable in relationship to the parts that felt deficient in love. And so I did it consistently again and again and again. And then it just became a way of life. It's like, oh yeah, love is just a way of life.
Yeah.
It's like unworthiness can be a way of life. Deficiency can be a way of life. It can be, if we just have that as a habit and we continue to support it. But I supported the habit of love until that no longer became a habit. It became just a way of being, my natural experience. And the beautiful thing is love is here within all of us. It is the very fabric of our consciousness. If we can kind of just get out of the way and let it flow. And again, nothing about this is transcendent. It is here, it's in the body, it's physical, it's felt.
Yeah.
It's here. It's here. And so this is the only love, only type of love that will change. Transcendence is a beautiful thing, but transcendence 9 times out of 10 does not heal. It just takes you to a different world. But this is why, you know, some great gurus, they can go to a different world and live in a different world, and then their shadow can continue to play here on planet Earth, and their shadow can continue to get in trouble on planet Earth. Now, I want to be clear here. Everyone has a shadow. It's just, do I have a massive shadow? It's getting in tremendous trouble, or is it just a little bit? And it's just a growing edge. And that's healthy, of course. The shadow's little, and it's just a growing edge, and it's just like we all have a growing edge, versus I ignore all of my humanity, and then I have a massive shadow that, you know, can get in a lot of trouble. It can create a lot of chaos. So anyways, is that helpful?
Yeah, helpful. I just don't know what you mean by, like, is giving the parts in me what they need, like, is that the love? Or because I honestly don't experience I mean,
You
I don't
feel
experience like a warm, like I don't experience what you're saying. Like I don't experience like the warm love.
well, let
Like I
me ask you
experienced
this.
it.
So say you are, if we go back in time, say you're laying, like laying on the couch, laying in bed with your girlfriend. Do you feel the warmth of her heart merging into your presence?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel the warmth of your heart merging into her heart?
Honestly, I don't know. Like
Like when you, I want you to play with something. This will be like a little tantric game for you. Is this is going to seem a little silly. It's going to require a partner, but I want you to find someone. I want you to go give them a hug. And while you're hugging them, I want you to feel in your chest. Feel in your chest. And see if you notice, oh, there's a little bit of warmth there. Like when you hug your mom, probably a lot of warmth. Probably a lot of warmth. Like you have these, so you have like nieces and nephews that you take care of.
yeah.
You did in the past. Like when you hug them, when you pick them up, you probably have a lot of warmth.
Yeah.
If you have a cat or a dog, it's like, I got this little Doodles and I pick up Doodles and I'm like, oh my God, Doodles, I love you so much. My heart just like is exploding out of my chest.
Yeah.
His heart is so big. It's just like, I feel his heart and my heart merge together. And so like when people cuddle, what's happening is like the energy of your heart chakra is merging into their heart chakra. And so I'm just inviting us to do that same thing with ourselves. And if we're sitting here saying, well, I don't know, like, I don't know what that's like. Well, that's great. But let's get to know that. Let's get to know that. And so the way we do this exercise by ourselves is we just lay in bed and we place two hands on our heart. We bring our awareness into our heart and we just notice, is my heart numb and dead? Or is there a warmth there? Now, for all of us, even if we are the most cold-hearted individual who's ever lived, there's going to be a subtle warmth right there in our chest. And often, like just energetically, like if we play like a Reiki healer, if you feel like in the palms of your hands and your fingertips, but I like just the palm of your hand, and you place it right on your heart. Even you stack the palms of your hands. Often, like if we have a shred of awareness, we will feel warmth pouring out of the palms of our hand. We'll feel warmth pouring out of our heart into our hands in this merging. And so it's this basic love. It's a love with no thought. It's a love that's always here. And sometimes love is just like, maybe that's too much for some people. It's just this basic, innate warmth and innate goodness. So we're connecting with this. So the more you give this your attention, the more it will grow. Now, you're really good at thinking, and so you have a lot of attention up here. I want you getting here.
Like
I want you to
literally,
get
like
very good at just feeling in your heart. And Ester Hicks, like those kind of folks play this game, and the word they use for it is resonance. Wherever they're walking, like whatever environment they walk into, they say, does this environment resonate with me? Like, is my heart, like resonating means my heart is awakening and it's growing and it's expanding? Or is it contracting? Is it contracting? Like if you put me in a subway, I'm like, I'm not resonating here. Like I can be open in a subway, but I don't feel a lot of resonance. there, but if you take me out, I resonate everywhere actually, but I'm just gonna use this as an example. You get me in the subway, I'm not happy camper. You get me on the cliffs of the Pacific Ocean, looking out like in the direction of Hawaii, my heart is just boom, it's radiating with happiness, with joy. It just feels so alive and wondrous. And so there's this feeling of resonance. As the heart is waking up and energetically, we're feeling warmth. That's all resonance is warmth. That's your heart saying yes to what's here. And so I'm inviting you to connect to this warmth first, get to know this warmth, to settle into it. And we're inviting this warmth to connect to the parts of ourselves that don't feel love. And when these two worlds come together, what happens is the heart will love the parts that feel unlovable until they do feel lovable. And I call that loving them to death, because they literally disappear, like unworthiness disappears through consistent love. And there's no thinking in this. If we're thinking, it's like, that's psychology. And this is where like I don't look at myself as a psychologist. I look at myself as, I want to make up a word, a compassionist. Like compassion is the thing that heals. If we're doing psychology, we're just thinking and processing, and maybe some things are being unraveled and released, but ultimately there has to be love there. Love is the thing that actually heals. We could think about something forever. We can think about how something hurt us for the next 30 years. But if you open to it and meet it with warmth, keep in mind, this warmth is already here. It's just a matter of getting awareness out of the thinking focus and into the feeling focus of bringing awareness down here. You with me? Yeah. And so play experientially. Play around experientially. Like we just ask, what am I feeling in my heart right now? Do I feel the warmth and the aliveness of my heart right now? Am I feeling resonance in my heart right now? And don't let your mind say, nope, nope, nope. That's your mind answering for itself. You won't feel it in your head. But if you ask your heart will say, yes, yes. There's warmth here. If there wasn't warmth here, you'd be dead. Literally, like you would literally be dead if there was not warmth right here. Right here. And so can we stop focusing up here and just bring our focus here and feel? So instead of thinking, what would my life be like if I simply feel through my heart? And on the surface is emotional feeling, but I want you to feel deeper than the emotion. Deeper than emotion. To this quiet light that never turns out. Okay. Good to be with you, Luke.
Thank you.
Yeah, much love. Okay. Looks like went over time here. So much love to all of you. So again, for those, a couple of you showed up late, I'm thinking August 25th through the 27th will be the next online retreat. I hope to see some of you, many of you, at Kripalu here next Sunday. No satsang, Sunday the 16th. And yeah, let's do this. Why don't, before we're done, let's close our eyes. And let us together meet in the heart, feeling in the heart. Feeling this gentle warmth and innate goodness. And inviting this warmth to expand. Shining out beyond our ribs, beyond the edges of our body. Lighting into our room. Lighting into our home. Blessing our friends, our family, our community. And shining out into the world. And so much love to each of you. See y'all soon. Goodbye.